abroad for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He is a business optimization specialist, no other than Mr. Chris Cannon.
Thank you for having me here. Appreciate the opportunity.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Chris, and can you please introduce more about yourself?
So, what I do is I help people to accelerate their impact, their income, and their influence using the power of storytelling. And I've been around entrepreneurship my entire life, and I really love business, and I like helping people to maximize their time and opportunity. And I really think that we're in an opportunity stage where like there's opportunity all around us. And I think it's just a matter of how to leverage and maximize it and optimize it. And a lot of things we're going to talk about on this show will hopefully give them tips on how to exactly do that.
Indeed, Mr. Chris Cannon. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. And today, let's talk about don't just hire people, you have to develop them. Can you tell us about it?
So I have a business and I've had several businesses over the years and I've hired different people over the years. And it's very important, exactly what you're saying, to not just hire but develop. Now, what that can mean for some people is like before you actually physically like hire somebody and officially hire them, you might be able to do like a mentorship, an internship to get them prepared, because so often people hire people for a position, but they don't prepare them to be successful. And then it end up not working out. Sometimes people end up getting fired, or companies and businesses lose money because they don't have the right people in position. But a large part of it is because they haven't developed them. And so when you develop a person into who you want to hire, number one, it helps you to save time. It causes the experience to be better overall, but it causes both sides to have the best experience. And the best experience means that these two sides work together to serve the end user, because the end user is really what it's all about ultimately. So when you develop somebody versus just hiring them, it just helps you to have a better overall experience for yourself.
Very well said. Very well said, Mr. Chris. And let's understand the philosophy itself. What does the phrase don't just hire people, develop them mean to you?
What it means is when you actually support somebody to be successful, you're more likely to see and experience their success because you've invested in it. Versus if you just hire somebody and expect them to be successful, but you haven't developed them to be successful, the odds of you experiencing that success is slim to none.
Indeed. And how do you believe employee development is just as important as hiring the right talent?
Oh, 100%. Because when you develop your employees, you understand like what triggers gets them to be inspired, because sometimes people make the mistake of thinking that everybody is just inspired by money, and some people aren't. Some people you can pay them the exact same salary, but if you just show them appreciation, they're going to be loyal, they'll stick around, they'll go the extra mile because they feel valued and they feel like somebody actually cares for them versus somebody just giving them money, if you will. And so when you understand employee development, you get to learn who's working for you, and it just helps the experience overall, because people feel like you're getting to know them and they're not just, a number at a company that nobody really cares about.
How can a neglecting employee development hurt a company's long term success?
Oh, I mean, it kills profit, it kills morale. It just like it can just kill the growth overall of the company, because if you have multiple people that are not happy, sometimes they can start to infect other people, and so before you know it, it just kind of changes the entire culture of that company. And before you know it, it spills over into the customers that they serve that actually is responsible for their profit and how they make money. So it can just overall just destroy a company overall. And I think when you have people that truly value employee development, it just allows everything else to like function at a much more higher level. And you really mitigate a lot of risk by doing that.
Mr. Chris, what's the biggest misconception leaders have about talent development?
I think the biggest misconception is that people should already be prepared before they even come apply for the job. And sometimes people don't understand that just because you see something on paper doesn't mean that you're actually going to see it play out in reality in the workplace. And there's also a lot of people that are extremely talented and they don't have the credentials on paper. So it takes you really getting to know people to understand what they have in them that can actually serve, your business or your corporation that can ultimately serve the people on the other side of it.
Mr. Chris, let's talk about the recruitment versus development. How should the mindset of hiring change if a development is truly prioritized?
I think when it comes to recruitment, one way to get the best candidates is by putting things out there that communicates what you're expecting from the best candidate. Because I think sometimes people put like general things that they want in an employee, and so they end up not getting somebody who's quality because they put something out there that's very general and it's not specific. But I think when you put things out there that are very specific and they really speak to who you're looking for, you give people an opportunity to, number one, not waste their time, not waste your time, but also for people to see exactly where their skills and their talents and their abilities can actually fit into the bigger picture, of this company and corporation. So I think when you really take the time to map out what you are looking for and you clearly communicate that, whether it's on video or in a post, wherever people like put things out there for jobs, it just gives you the best chance to attract the ideal people that you're looking for.
Definitely ideal people for the job. How do you encourage employees to take ownership of their personal and professional growth?
I think a way that you can get them to take ownership is by getting them to understand that what they're doing is not just transactional, but it's transformational. And here's what I mean by that. When you get them to understand the kind of difference that their job is making, that they're actually helping people, they're making a difference. Now they see themselves as part ownership in this job, in this corporation. So when somebody takes ownership, they approach it totally different than if they just think that it's a job. And so when you can allow them to clearly see like the difference that they're making and that they're just as a part of this organization as everybody else is, it just helps them to approach everything differently and it causes them to feel like what they do actually matters, because people want to know that whatever they do, like it means something, it actually matters to people, and that gives them the opportunity to feel that.
Indeed. Mr. Chris, what are the most effective employee development strategy have you seen in action?
One of the most effective strategies that I have seen is by incentivizing people to do things that are like winnable for them. And here's what I mean by that. So if you have like a sales team, for instance, sometimes people make the mistake of just rewarding people for making the most sales. And sometimes making the most sales is not based specifically on how good of a salesperson somebody is. Sometimes it's just based on the number of calls that come in, the people. And so sometimes even when you have a sales team, one way to incentivize them is, by rewarding them for the quality of their calls, the service, like how do they make the person feel when they got off the phone? Because sometimes I think companies and corporations, they don't understand that there are some things that are intangible and it's not just dollars and numbers, if you will. And so when you get different employees to focus on different intangible ways to get rewarded, it caused them to look for more opportunities to be rewarded by doing those more intangible things that really make a difference in the end.
Again, Mr. Chris, very well said. Beautifully articulated. How important is mentoring and coaching in the workplace for employee evolution or evolution?
Yeah, I think that is critical because it's almost like if you don't mentor people in the workplace at some point in time, who's ever at the top, they're going to get older, they're going to retire, and sometime if they don't have somebody to be their successor, a large part of their success, even though they might have, retired from the company, a large part of them might feel like a failure based on how the company does after they leave. Because a great leader, they don't produce a lot of followers. Great leaders produce more leaders. And so when you are really focused on mentoring people behind you, you actually produce more leaders and not more followers. So when you step out and you retire or you leave, the people that you've actually built up behind you, they continue that mission and that vision of that company, and that's also a reflection of you. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Indeed. Mr. Chris, can you recommend a book that influenced you as a business optimization specialist?
One book that really comes to mind is How to Win Friends and Influence by Dale Carnegie. Even though that book is really, really old, the principles are just as relevant today as they ever have been.
Totally agree. I think it's still number one self-help book until now. They're highly recommended people by Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
How to influence people. And what will be your short-term and long-term goals as business optimization specialist?
I would say the short term goals is to help more business owners become more successful by actually putting in less time. So, like a goal of mine, and this is what I actually help people do. I help people make an additional six figures working less than 20 hours a week. Now, my longer term goal is to help people to not just make more money, but my longer term goal is to cause people to have freedom, finances, and fulfillment at the highest level while spending more time with the people that they love.
Well, Mr. Chris, good luck for that and looking for more success in your life. How can companies strike a balance between hiring skilled professionals and developing new talent internally?
I think a great way to balance it is by having specific people that only focus on that one thing. Because sometimes companies they want to save money, and I totally understand it. And so they try to get one person or one group of people to do multiple things. And so they spread themselves thin versus just being more effective in one area. So I think by having like more people just focus on one thing or fewer things, it just causes them to be more effective as a company overall, which will in turn get them more results.
What tools or systems do you recommend to track and support individual development plans?
Sometimes the simplest thing that can track a plan is just a simple spreadsheet. Sometimes we as humans, I think we underestimate the power of seeing the black and white activity that we ourselves are responsible for. And there's a lot of complex things and systems and like there's so many different things, but I think something that's really, really effective is by having a simple spreadsheet and tracking a lot of your activity and just going back to see, are there any similarities, are there any things that you see yourself doing more of on Tuesday or Monday or Friday, that maybe if you did something different it would cause you to be a lot more effective than you have been. And so I just think like sometime when you track things, it allow you to see your own behavior from a place that nobody has to tell you. And sometimes that is the best accountability factor, but it's also one of the best ways to leverage it and actually improve upon it.
Indeed, Mr. Chris. So let's talk about overcoming challenges. What are the common barriers that stop organizations from investing in employee development?
I think one of the greatest challenges that a lot of companies and corporations have when it comes to developing employees is that they feel like they don't have time to do that, or they feel like, we just don't have the resource to do that. And sometimes they're focused just on the bottom line, which is the numbers, the profits, and they're like, look, we don't have time for that because we have to focus on increasing the profits. And even though employee development might be intangible to a certain extent, it's like employee morale and just the atmosphere and the culture can be something that immediately increases the profits in any corporation if they just took the time to allow the like for it to work. Like they'll see those numbers actually rise, but so many people think that there is no connection, because you can't really measure it per se. And a lot of times people think like, what you don't measure you can't manage, and that's not necessarily true, because people don't take the time to look deeper at some of the intangibles and how they have a direct correlation on the numbers.
Again, very well said. Mr. Chris, very well said. How do you respond to leaders who say they don't have time to develop people?
How I would respond to that is you really can't afford not to have time, because the one thing that leaders all have, and we all have it, is a reputation. And sometimes when you don't take the time to develop the people who represent you, they can misrepresent you because you didn't give them the tools to represent you properly. And so if you don't take the time to invest in the people that represent you, then you're going to have misrepresentation when their work reflects on you from not giving them the time to actually do it. And so you can either, you know, take time and make time and not have regrets, or you can roll the dice and take a risk and have a lot of regrets in addition to possibly losing income and, the atmosphere and a lot of other things that are, tied to this person not getting the tools that they actually need.
Mr. Chris, how can you prevent top talent from leaving if they feel underdeveloped or overlooked?
I think, and this is so simple, but I think one of the biggest ways to get top talent to stay and not leave is to show them greater appreciation. Again, like I said earlier, sometimes people think that you could just throw money, like give them more money. But even if they have a lot of money, but they feel like they're being used, they feel like they're not being appreciated, they feel like they're not being valued, they're going to want to go somewhere where they're celebrated, because whatever is celebrated is duplicated. And so when you celebrate them for something specific, they're going to duplicate that same thing in other areas of their business to to make it better, because they feel like somebody values them, versus if somebody just throws money at them, they're like, I can get this from anywhere. But everybody wants something unique and everybody want to be viewed as special, and simply appreciating them can make them feel special and make them want to stay.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. Chris, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, because Abstract Essay is already in its fifth season, Abstract Poetry in second season, and of course, my Book 101 review in its fifth season. People, Comedy 101 is second season, Food 101 in its fifth season as well, and Geography 101 and Love Letters in its third season, and my baby podcast, Mental Health 101, and Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season. So please do, people, listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Chris, if there's one thing every leader should start doing today to truly develop their team, what would it be?
I think one of the best ways that leaders can develop more talent is to model what does the best look like. And I'm not saying that they're going to be perfect, because none of us are perfect, but sometimes when you model and you demonstrate what the best look like, that communicates to somebody else what's possible for them. And sometimes people can never be something because they haven't seen. And so when they can actually see it, they can be it. And so I think one of the best things that leaders can do is to become the best leader that they can be and model that to the people that they're responsible for and that they're behind, and encourage them that they can actually do the same and take small incremental steps to actually do that. And I think once people become the best version of themselves as a leader, I think they also instill that in other people to do the same thing.
Mr. Chris Cannon, a business optimization specialist. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself?
So if people want to learn more about storytelling and how to utilize that to live the life that you love, you can go to compellingstorytelling.com. And there I do a training going on a lot more in-depth things that we learned here. And I look forward to seeing you on the inside if you have an interest.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Chris Cannon, because if you support him, more and more and more empowering coaching to come. And I'm hoping sooner or later he's gonna produce a book and come over and let's talk about it again on Book 101 Review. So Mr. Chris, looking forward for that book. So can so that you can come back and let's talk about it and let's promote to the world. So Mr. Chris, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Modicon people, see you soon.